Book signing of Night Vision. We really appreciate having you. It's beautiful weather. We'll do a little question and answer with Randy. If you guys have some questions, he'll be happy to answer them for you, and then we'll get down to signing some books, and everybody will get their book signed, so no worries about waiting in line too long or anything. And we'll go from there, all right? So I'll give you guys to Randy.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming out. Thank you. I have a question. Is he not one good-looking guy? I mean, come on. Even all guys. And I'm all guys. I've got to set my side, but so. Yeah.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
It is a delight to be here. It's an honor. As a few of you may know, for 13 years, actually more than 13 years, I was a fishing guide at Tarpon Bay. Any of my former clients here? They never came back. I wasn't a very good fishing guide, but I was certainly very active fishing. And back in those years when I was a guide, on those rare occasions my clients actually caught something. And on the rare occasions when they didn't keep it, I would ice the fish, put it in my pickup truck, and I'd come here to the restaurant, which was then Timbers, owned by a great friend of mine, Matt Asen, who looks kind of like Clarabelle, but don't tell him I said that. He's a delightful guy. And Matt would buy the fish. And Matt being Matt, I would go in through the back door, and he would say, I'll take this and this and this, but I want you to carry him in through the front door. And you'd get the tails of the fish sticking out, and at that time I was kind of muscular and I had hair, and I carried the fish in so people would know the fish was fresh. And then I would get back to the kitchen, and I'm not a good businessman. And Matt would say, well, how much? And I would say, well, whatever it's selling for by the pound. He would say, how about a six-pack? I go, no, I don't. How about a six-pack and lunch? And it would just go like that and go like that, and I would always end up with 2 beers and a hamburger. So it is a delight to be here when I can walk in the front door and be part of this incredible organization. So I should also add, you folks truly should have something better to do with your time on a day like today. Isn't it extraordinary? Yeah. I've heard a rumor it's snowing north of Atlanta somewhere. Is that true?
Yep, 10 inches in Michigan.
We are the luckiest people, are we not? It is a rare day when I do not wake up and expect someone to tap me on the shoulder and say, you're the wrong Randy White, you're supposed to be baling hay somewhere in North Carolina. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. I hope you like the books, and if you have a question or questions, I will happily try to answer any questions. Yes, the good-looking man with the lovely hair. Go ahead.
I just want to know what steered you in the direction of the subject of this book, the topic.
Night Vision. Night Vision is the 18th Doc Ford novel, and I believe it's the best of the Doc Ford thrillers. Not all the Doc Ford books are thrillers, as Lord knows. They're not all mysteries. Some, who knows what they are. The Man Who Invented Florida is a strange, bizarre book, and if you haven't read it, if you have sleeping problems, that might be the book to buy. But Night Vision has to do with a 13-year-old Guatemalan girl who comes to Florida illegally to search for her family. I've spent a great deal of time in Central and South America, and I'm well aware of these people, these extraordinary people who grew up in the mountains of Guatemala, Panama, Nicaragua in some cases, El Salvador, and they grow up speaking Maya, Quiche Maya. Spanish is their second language. Now these are people we see every day. We see them at the Winn-Dixie cashing their checks to send money home to Mexico or Guatemala. And they live in a shadow society. And whatever the politics may be, they are still people. And I find it fascinating, the trials and tribulations they go through to come to a foreign country to make money and send it home to their families. Because they are part of the shadow society, they are very easy targets. Easy targets for the sex slave. Easy targets for what is essentially slavery. If one person drops the dime on them, makes a phone call, they get arrested. Because of that, they tend to live very quiet, under-the-radar lives. And I find that fascinating. So the book begins with a 13-year-old Guatemalan girl who comes to the States, and she is unusual in that she believes she hears voices. She's being directed by a voice to reunite her family, come to the States, and take her family home. I write about things that I find intellectually and emotionally interesting, and I find that interesting. Good questions. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Skipper.
So, either in this book specifically or any of your books, how much does the finished product resemble what you envisioned it when you started?
That's a good question. How much does the finished novel resemble the book I anticipated writing? It bears very little resemblance. I have a wonderful editor at Putnam's, Neil Nyren, who's also the president of Penguin Putnam Publishing. And he's a brilliant guy, he's a very stern guy. And I know when most people write a book, what do you call it? Not a synopsis, proposal, a book proposal. There are lengthy proposals, there are outlines, there's this and there's that. So I will write Neil 2 or 3 or 4 sentences, and sometimes it has nothing to do with the book. And he'll go, fine, fire away, which is a great relationship, really. It's a great relationship of trust. I start with the setting. Each book has a different voice. Once I find that voice, it's like being in a room in which there are no windows or doors. But when I find that voice, a door opens up, and there's a whole world there. In the case of Night Vision, the voice turned out to be the voice of this 13-year-old girl, which a character that I became infatuated with and still like very much. The novels are character-driven. When I introduce a new character, I write a very lengthy biography. Things that never, ever show up in the books. I did that with Ford. I did that with Thomas. With Ford and Tomlinson, they probably had 40 or 50-page bios, each of them, before I even started. Because I felt if I knew the characters so well, that it would be, in effect, like an iceberg. The reader sees the tip, but the control is such that everything else is implied. If you know your characters well, if you know your subjects well, as importantly, if you know your canvas, your backdrop, in this case, Florida, if you know it well, much is implied, and there is a validity, I think, that is intuited by the reader, or so I hope. Yes, ma'am.
Just an observation, you have an interesting insight into the women in your novel. Does that come by pretty naturally, or is that something that
Did you folks hear the nice lady? I'll rephrase the question. She said, at my age, how can I possibly look so...